You've probably heard countless times that you need to learn the major scale, but have you ever actually stopped and wondered why? Now, I'm far from a master at bass, but I've learnt things across my journey that have stopped me and left me wondering, why on earth did I go so long not knowing these things? This is especially important for church musicians. You don't always have a church musician around, someone with that church background that will actually sit down with you and break down these things in a way that you understand. Sometimes this is because some people want to keep their source a secret. Other times it's just because they're not actually great teachers, you know? Yeah, there can be a stigma around actually someone that has learnt to understand the theory within that circle. The problem with this is that often you'll have hopeful musicians wanting to play in church, grow up learning to play the instrument, that will actually give up. They're left to their own devices and have to try and figure all this stuff out by themselves, and as a result they give up due to a lack of guidance. Often we set out on this journey to learn scales and music theory, but we never actually stop to question why, or how exactly is learning this particular thing, is learning this scale actually going to help me. We never actually get any context as to why we're learning it. This leads to frustration, overwhelm and boredom, because it never translates into your day-to-day playing, meaning that your practice sessions just feel like one big slap in the face. So the reason the major scale is so important for church musicians especially is because of something called the number system, and this is used across most churches, a lot of churches, in terms of playing gospel, Hillsong style. Most of these churches will use the number system as a point of reference, and this is because it makes it really easy to be on the same page and change a key or change things up in the flow of a service, in the flow of worship. So the number system is just a fancy way of breaking up scales and chords into numbers, so it's an easy way to change a key. And guess what? It's heavily based around the major scale, okay? And that's what we're going to look at today. But before we look at any scales today, we need to get a basic grasp of how certain concepts in Western music work and piece together. All of our music is made from 12 notes, okay? The same 12 notes that go higher or lower in pitch. So eventually you're going to get back to an A, whether you keep going up or keep going down. If you start at A, keep going up, eventually you're going to get to A, and it will repeat again and again and again. Now this is often taught on a piano, but we can scrap that because we're not playing piano. I find it more helpful to think about music like a circle or a clock that we can go in either direction. When you view it like this, it makes it a lot easier to see how scales and chords fit together with each other, and you can actually visibly see the interval difference in a way that makes sense to someone that doesn't play keys. All we need to do now is attach these specific intervals and notes to our bass guitar, to our instrument. So let's look at the major scale. It consists of 7 notes, but rather than just learn the 7 notes for every scale, which there's going to be 12 of, let's actually learn the intervals for the major scale. By doing this, in theory, you should be able to play any major scale once you've learnt the formula, as long as you know what note it starts on. Now this is a much quicker way of getting to grips with the music, and it will help you understand how other bits of the puzzle piece together. So the intervals in the major scale are the root note, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and then you get back to the root note again, or octave. The cycle continues whether you go up or you go lower. So this is something you should learn and memorize. Learn the distance between the notes of each interval, and learn the positions that we're going to come onto in the 3 levels of the major scale. But what we can do is, rather than view it as 7 notes, once we've learned the structure of it, we can just scrap all of that together and go straight to numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you're in the service and a 3-6-1 is called, you play the 3rd note of the major scale, the 6th note, and then the first note of that major scale for whatever key that you're in. That's essentially how the number system works. We'll address how to deal with notes outside of the major scale in another video. So now that we've cleared that up, 3 levels of major scale for playing in church. Level 1. This is the root position. It's the one that you should learn first and will be your staple for now. It will be your staple when you're finding your way around the number system and surviving your way through a service when it's your kind of first time getting to grips with the numbers, or even it's just something that you're working on and you want to develop further. Root position. We're going to take a G major, 3rd fret on your 4th string, and we're going to go root with your 2nd finger on the 3rd fret, 5th fret on the 4th string, which is our 2nd, 3, which is our 2nd fret on the 3rd string, 4 on the 3rd fret, 5 on the 5th fret, 6th on the 2nd fret, 2nd string, 7th fret, 7th note on the 4th fret on the 2nd string, and then we hit the octave on the 5th fret on the 2nd string, and then we can keep going. So that's the 1 again, then we get 2 again on the 2nd fret on our 1st string, 3, 4th fret, 4, 5th fret. So that's our shape here, and we can stick to a 1 finger per fret using this shape. If you got a 5th string, low string, you got these extra notes here. Level 2. So the 2-octave major scale, this is where you can begin to break out of that set pattern and you can begin to reach more notes, and it will give you a bit more freedom in your playing. So you do G again. I'm going to just say fret names and then try and do some of the intervals as well, or number system. So G is our 1, which is on the 3rd fret. We then go to the 5th fret for our 2 in the number system. Then we're going to go 7th fret. Okay, 1, 2, 3 in numbers, or 3, 5, 7 in frets. And then 8th fret. I like to slide up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That's the 1st octave. 2, 3. Well, actually, I'll slide up 2, 3 with my 1st finger. 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Octave again. 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we're back into our 1st position again, knowing that we've also got our notes here. So this is how you can begin to get your notes working together, so you're not locked into one shape. So that's kind of combining them up a bit. So this 4 here is also on the 3rd fret on our 3rd string. Same note. Exactly same note. So that will help you begin to open up. So we've gone from the 3rd fret to the 12th fret. Okay, so that's a 9 fret gap, if my maths is correct. So that's a big area of our fretboard now, that from essentially learning one scale, we've got, when you get this down, you've got a lot of movement with, a lot of ability to play with there. Level 3. This is similar to what we've just done here, but the full 7 positions of the major scale. I know it sounds scary, but I promise you, it's not as bad as it sounds. Our instrument has the same 12 notes, repeated loads and loads of times. This means there are multiple places to play the same notes and to play the same scales. Now if we take those exact same 7 notes, but each time we play the scale we start and finish one note higher, we're going to create a new position for ourselves. We're going to in fact create 7 new positions, 7 different positions, until we get back to the same position that we started with. Learn all of these 7 positions and you can really begin to link up your fretboard. Position 1 we've already looked at. Position 2, starting from the 2nd note of our major scale. So I'm just going to put up the highlighted chart rather than explain it all out. Third position. Fourth position. Fifth position. Sixth position. Seventh position. And then we're back to our first position again. That's a major scale. That is what we've accidentally done here, is we've played all the modes in the major scale. Yep, you learn those positions, you have just learned Dorian, you've learned Phrygian, you've learned Lydian, Mixolydian, can't even remember them all now. Aeolian, which is the same as a natural minor scale, and Locrian. You've learnt the modes. Yep, those things that sound and look awful, like they're written in Latin, and I actually studied Latin once, a long time ago, quite badly. We've learnt them all. So when your MD calls a 2 chord, you can jump to the 2nd position of the major scale and play using that position, which would be over a minor chord here, which we'll get into another time. The astute among you are going to be questioning me now. But Caleb, isn't that playing the same thing? Can't we just stay in the same position if it's the same 7 notes? The answer to that is yes. Yes, you can. You could, as long as it's diatonic, meaning the chords are one of the 7 from the major scale, you can just stay in that same first position and all those notes will be in key. But I find that when you change position now, even though it's the same 7 notes, you actually start to think differently. You will play things you wouldn't have played in that first position, especially when you're just getting to grips with all of this. And it will also allow you to easily focus on, naturally you're going to focus on the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and probably the 7th as well, depending on the chord, because of the way the shapes are. So you're naturally going to start highlighting the different notes within the particular chord, which means your bass lines are actually going to follow and guide the music a lot better than just playing root notes and a major scale. So this is the video on major scale for church basses. Major scale for church, kind of a introduction to the number system and how it works, and really different ways for you to actually develop the major scale, hopefully in a way that you can actually use and put into your playing. So now that actually once you get to that 3rd level, well, that 2nd level for a start means you don't have to be locked into one position. That's number 1 when you're coming to the number system, and it's important to learn the intervals in relation to where the root note is. 2, when you finally learn that third set, you've got a few more options for when you're on those chords in terms of if you want to fill out that bass line so you don't feel trapped to the root notes because you don't know what to play that will work over that chord. Now you've got the options, and it's all options there for you to use at your disposal. So do with that what you will. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe for more stuff like this. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this, and yeah, more tutorials like this coming. Stay bass clever.